welcome to another episode of Small Town Big Business, a podcast about doing big business in small towns. I am your co-host for today, Deb Barnett. I'm also the Executive Director for Southern Illinois Now, where we focus on the 17 counties in Southern Illinois and advance our region as a great place to live, work, and do business.
Yeah, I'm your co-host. I'm Russell Williams. I'm Director of EThOs, and we're a small business incubator, co-working spaces, training and development here in downtown Marion, Illinois. Thank you all for joining us for this episode. And I also want to thank our sponsors because, Deb, this wouldn't happen at all if we didn't have great sponsors that supported us. So we do want to thank Arcadia Wealth Group, Black Diamond Harley Davidson and RV, Fowler Heating and Cooling Company, Swinford Media Group, Watermark Auto Group Foundation, and then starting today, we have two brand new sponsors. And so we want to thank and welcome Banterra Bank and also Southern Illinois Now for joining us and supporting the Small Town Big Business podcast.
And SI Now is so excited to be a new sponsor, and we'll hop into our guests here in a second. Banterra Bank is a new sponsor as well, but we're both excited to be part of this. Today we're going to take a little bit of a shift because we are talking with folks from Banterra Bank. There's also a business in all the ways that we'll talk about, but you also support small businesses throughout the region. So let's first welcome Ben Kraft, Commercial Lending Officer, and also Jennifer Spence, Director of Marketing at Banterra Bank. We're glad to have both of you here today.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah.
So I always get to kick off, this is one of my favorite parts, kind of the origin story of any business. And today it's all about Banterra Bank, of course. I am a visionary at heart. And so when I was looking at some research related to Banterra Bank, that origin story was so inspiring and really new to me. So just about those initial folks who just had a vision and a dream for what we now know as Banterra Bank. So Jennifer, you want to talk a little bit about that and how it got its start?
You know, it really is inspiring. It started in 1975, so next year we'll celebrate our 50th anniversary. And it started in a small town in Southern Illinois, Ridgway, Illinois. For those listeners out there that don't know much about Ridgway, it's, aside from popcorn capital of the world, it had about 1,200 people at the time when they started this bank. And Everett Knight is our chairman and founder. He's been in banking way more than 50 years, and it's incredible. And he worked at North City Bank, which is not too far from there, and he really just always wanted to start a bank. And he got together with Tom Rabin, who's now a Banterra board member and has been for long time, since the beginning, and Tom was from Ridgway, and the opportunity came up to purchase Gallatin County State Bank, and they took that opportunity to do that. So 1975 they did that, and it was about $11 million in assets, and they have grown it to today to about $3 billion.
I would have loved to have been around those initial tables when they were talking about, should we do this, should we not? I mean, I think starting up any venture, any business, any organization is always a little bit scary. So I would have loved to have heard those initial conversations.
Yeah, sure. And I think, back then, especially agriculture was a big part of the Ridgway community and surrounding areas. And I think that's where our company's beginning was really based, was on ag lending and supporting local farmers. Kind of speaks to the origin of our name, Banterra, which, I don't know, trivia question, you guys know what Banterra means?
No.
Okay.
Yeah.
It means Bank of the Earth. Banterra, Bank of the Earth.
Absolutely, yeah.
So I think that kind of goes back to the origins of the bank, and is a nice little fun fact.
That's so cool.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
I will never see the Banterra name again without thinking of that. That is so
Bank
cool.
and Terra for Earth, yeah.
Love it.
You know, I interviewed our chairman, or I talked to him on the phone about this because, Ben and I we know that it started in 1975 and it's in Ridgway, but to really know the flavor of the risk and the dream of that. And I said, Everett, when you first started this, did you know that it would, grow this much? Because, as soon as they did Ridgway, it wasn't long before they were acquiring banks in West Frankfort and North City and Vienna and different areas. I said, did you think you would just be in Southern Illinois? And he said, I didn't think it would be this big, but we're not done growing. We're still growing, So it was neat.
50 years later, and someone says, oh, but we're not finished yet.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
I'm from West Frankfort, and I remember when I was a kid that Banterra came in, merged or bought the Bank of West Frankfort.
Yeah.
And so my mom and dad have always been Banterra customers since then. So, and they're in their 90s now.
Yeah.
So,
It's really neat too because, with my involvement with this right now, I think this comes into play sometimes, but we've grown so much in Southern Illinois. We have 25 locations, and they're really community hubs. You know, you can, with our business customers or whatever, you know, if they needed something, let's say they have business in Marion and they need some input from Christopher, we're so involved in the community, we can call those branches and they're involved in that. And now I think for employees like Ben and I that, you know, we're in 6 states, we're in metropolitan areas like Salt Lake City and Scottsdale and St. Louis.
That's interesting. I didn't know that.
Yeah, you know, and these specialty lending divisions, you know, if you want to buy an aircraft, you can at Banterra. We have a whole division for that, and we do lending nationwide. You know, we have.
I do want to buy an aircraft.
Talk to someone about that.
You know, the factory work. You know, the machine tool needs for really made in America kind of things. We do that nationwide too. We have a whole division for that, and all that started in a town of 1,200 people in a farming community in Southern Illinois.
That's
that's exciting.
Yeah. Not to verge away from the bank story too much, but Ben, how long have you been with Banterra?
I've been with Banterra for about 8 years now. I started as a branch manager in the Carbondale and Carterville markets and moved into commercial lending a couple years after that, but about 8 years.
Okay.
Yep.
And Jennifer?
I've been here 11 years, and when I interviewed for the bank, I was sort of, I'll just be honest, going, do I really want to work for a bank? You know, from a marketing standpoint, you know, my background was different. It was more of an entertainment thing, but Banterra really provides such a family culture and supportive culture, and I didn't really realize, I sort of knew it, but I really didn't realize how much banks in our area support community and sponsorships and all those kind of things, and there's so many creative partnerships we've been able to do with business customers, so it's been very fulfilling.
Good. And how large did you say how large the assets are now for Banterra?
It's $3 billion in assets. Okay. So, it's, of 20 years, they had 11 locations. We had $1 billion in assets, and then by 2020, we reached $2 billion in assets. Yeah. But just 3 years later, we're another $1 billion in assets. Yeah. So it's,
that's amazing.
It's motivating. It
that
really is. You almost get accustomed to being on a winning team when you see its growth. But ever since I've been there, and I'm sure it has been before too, they've grown every year, and that's just exciting.
Mm-hmm.
Wonderful.
So you talked about community and the importance of being part of the community. I think that's important for any business. You can't just stay behind, the walls of your company and expect to do well. So talk about some of the ways that you really do not only invest in the community, but really become an integral part of it.
Sure, I'd be happy to. Well, and from an individual level, Jennifer and I are both from this region, born and raised in Carterville, live there now, work in Marion, so we're very tied to the region, and we're very involved. And not just me, but other members of our team are involved in Chamber of Commerce boards and Rotary clubs and foundation boards and church councils and volunteer Little League coaches. In some cases, I've coached Little League teams on that have my customers' kids on them. We're very involved in the communities in which we serve. And Jennifer can speak more to
the marketing,
how the actual bank is. But I think that's important to make sure we're invested in that way too.
From a marketing perspective, I'm responsible for marketing 6 states, but our largest portion by far is our money that we give back to sponsorships, donations, organizations. And then I don't think that you'll find other banks that on top of that every month throughout the year, we have an whole annual plan of promoting a charity in our branches. So at any time you can go in and, we give awareness to things like American Cancer Society or Disabled Veteran or, different things like that. And then I just think, we approach everything as a partnership. So whether it's community involvement and funding or whether Ben's working on, a loan customer or whatever, if we can support them by promoting their business or giving them business or whatever that is, that's sort of how we approach things.
Yeah. Talk more about your business services, because a lot of people who listen to this podcast are entrepreneurs of small or large businesses.
Sure. Well, we do business lending and we have also retail products for consumers and businesses. But I think it's important to note that we have the ability to serve all sizes of businesses, whether it's a mom and pop or a large business. We can do all of that. One of my favorite parts about working for Banterra is I see us is in kind of a sweet spot. So we've talked about how much we've grown and how large we've become, and the products and services that we can offer, which are similar to that of what you might see in a large bank. But we're also still very much a community bank and have that local community service that we can offer as well. So it's small, it's large, it's everything in between. And like Jennifer said, I think we see everything as not just transactional, but a partnership. Anytime we do business with a customer, we like to see, we view it as a partnership. We support them in any way we can, aside from just the banking products and services. One example that comes to mind, I see producer Luke back over there with Union Street Arts. Shout out to them. But that's a really good story, because we worked with Luke to help Union Street Arts purchase their building. But aside from that transaction, we've also hired Luke to do some video production for us. We've supported him in the different events that he's had. So that's kind of how we approach things, is not just one transaction, but we see it as a partnership where we can continue to help that business grow and work together.
One of the points that been made, we do sort of say that we have that sweet spot. We're a mega bank that has the products, but also that local community feel. And for example, small businesses, and I see it wearing other hats, where they're just so busy trying to figure out payroll and all the license needs and just all of that, getting food out to a table on time or whatever it is. And we have a treasury management team. A lot of banks may have one or two people assigned to it, or you might be at a national big bank where, you don't even hardly know who you're talking to half the time. And we have a whole team of treasury management that is excellent, and they know their customers as much as our lenders do. And if they have issues with, processing payment or remote deposit or anything like that, it's really an extension of their team, and that's a neat offer to have.
I think particularly for the small businesses that are listening right now, or maybe it's someone that's looking to start a small business, this whole process can be a little bit scary sometimes, especially all the financial pieces of it. Maybe, as you mentioned, Jennifer, they're balancing a lot of different things, wearing a lot of different hats, or as I mentioned, if they're just getting started, they may not even know where to begin. So can you kind of help take the fear factor out of what you do and give some tips that might be helpful to those businesses?
Absolutely, yeah. Well, and every customer, every business has a story, and I see it as a puzzle that we try to work through together to complete. And, I approach it as not just a customer comes in the office and they have a request for a loan, maybe to start a business or to grow a business. And it's not just, oh, yeah, we can do that, or no, we can't. It's, okay, let's take a look at what you're doing. Let's take a look at your story. Let's take a look at your plans. Let's stress test that. Let's see, okay, if you did grow, would you be able to handle that based on what you're projecting? Let's help you work through some projections. Let's really dig deep into what you have going on and what capacity you might have and how we might be able to work with you on that. So what I try to do is take that fear factor away initially if I can, especially for a new business owner or a relatively new business owner. And once we get into the real numbers and the real facts and the real plans, then we can determine the best way forward from there, and then get a good plan in place.
They have examples of that all the time. I know a local fitness gym, they came in and you guys really stepped in and helped do research to help make sure that this is what he could do, and sort of went above and beyond.
Yeah, absolutely. Expanding into a new market, what would that look like? And again, not just, yeah, we can do that, or no, we can't. And I'm thinking of a coworker of mine, Shane, who worked with a client and really did some in-depth financial analysis and stress tested things and looked at comparable businesses in their industry and their region and how they did things and how things looked from their end. That's not something you necessarily might get with everyone you talk to, but that's the kind of service we like to provide and really partner with our customers to help them with their vision.
I think that's been a common theme as you've been talking. It really is a partnership. It's not just a transaction. Super important.
Yeah. And then in terms of marketing, are you able to help small businesses with marketing too? Or
yeah, one, we want to be supportive of our customers, so we have featured them with their permission, obviously for privacy reasons. But you've had Black Diamond Harley Davidson on before. We had them on signage and some print ads and those kind of things. We do social media partnerships. We feature them in our Spotlight of newsletter. We do blogs. Something that's really neat that from the SI Now hat you'll probably really like too is for holiday gifts for all of our regions. We have a taste of the region. So for Southern Illinois, in particular, we featured products that our customers offered in that. I mean, we could just go buy some cookies somewhere or whatever, but we try to think of ways to support them. And then at times we've even looked over their marketing, and given them, we have I'm a little partial, but I have a great marketing team. We have a great marketing team at Banterra, and if they can be helpful in that, it gives them fresh opportunities too. And I'm a big fan of brand associations, so if you just market a bank by itself, maybe that could get a little bit boring. But if we partner with some brands that really appeal and that are also supporting our customers, I think that's just a win-win.
You've mentioned the SI Now partnership several times.
Sorry.
And SI Now, SI Now would not exist without its partners. And Banterra Bank certainly is one of those that was and is a catalyzing partner for this work. And, I think that's a great testimony to how the bank steps up and supports its community, supports the work that SI Now is doing and so many others. So I think that is a great segue then into another great partnership that you all have at a little university down the road at Southern Illinois University, Carbondale. So share a little bit about that.
Yeah, we were approached. We've been a sponsor with SIU for quite a while, but we were approached the opportunity to become their first corporate naming rights partner for one of their athletics facility, which at the time was SIU Arena. And for those of us who grew up around here, and particularly that has a very big appeal from a Saluki fan, but also from our 80s days of concerts and all those kind of things. And it's just a really cool venue. So it was a considerable, investment and commitment, but we did it. I mean, obviously it's got great branding opportunities and marketing opportunities, but Southern Illinois University is so key to our region. They're one of our region's largest employers.
And I say it was a little university down the road. That was totally a joke. It's a big deal. It's a major research
but they're one of our
institution.
largest employers. They provide the students of this area an opportunity, a great higher education opportunity, especially for our community colleges too. And if you think about our businesses, our small businesses, not just in Carbondale, but if SIU thrives, our small businesses also thrive. So.
Yeah. Absolutely. You hear a lot of people say that as SIU goes, the region goes. And for us to be able to support that makes me really proud as an SIU alum myself, someone who grew up going to basketball games, just to walk up and go to a game now or an event there now and see our name on the building and know that what goes into that to support them makes me really proud.
Yeah. And we talk a lot about Southern Illinois because that's where we're at, that's where we're based and those kind of things, but we try to do that in every area. I mean, whether it's USI in Evansville or Rend Lake College, which obviously is Southern Illinois too, but we do try to do those kind of partnerships because we see the importance of what they offer.
Yeah, that's awesome. I do remember the 80s concert at the old SIU.
Oh, yeah.
John Cougar Mellencamp. That was.
REO Speedwagon was my first. Yeah, I'll just tell you. I had the T-shirt too.
We'll bring some of those back to the Banterra Center.
Yeah.
That's excellent. Well, let's also talk about other partnerships because you have helped us here in downtown Marion, in particular with the Landmark Illinois. Can you talk a little bit more about what that is and how you got involved in it?
Yeah. So I'm personally a little passionate about historic preservation, but as all of us know in this region, this region was really thriving in the early 1900s when coal mine industry, and so there's all these little towns that popped up based around where the coal mines were found and those kind of things. And for somebody that grew up in Carterville and then moved away to a city and then came back, I would just drive through our downtown and just be, at the time, sad. And thank goodness there's great revitalization now, and right out our window at the city of Marion and Murfreesboro and Carterville and other areas. But we really wanted to step up and provide partner with someone that we could provide a grant opportunity that would preserve these buildings for the purpose of bringing business. There's some great creative business owners out there, whether it's a boutique or a coffee shop or whatever it is, but they're not necessarily developers or want to take on that undertaking. And so if we could support that in some way, and it's, we can't give them a huge grant that do it, but we can give them something that encourages them. And also then we can partner with them on, here's some loan opportunities, or here's some funding opportunities, or have you considered outside sources, that are around here that can help with that. So, we partner with the city of Marion and Landmarks, Illinois, which is statewide historic preservation based in Chicago. It is the first time that they've ever offered a grant that was for the sole purpose of economic development, and we had the Landmarks Illinois Banterra Bank Preserves Illinois grant, which was a 2-year agreement, and we've given out $2,500 grants each year to places like Andreessen's in Johnson City, and even Jamie and Brooke that do some development in Murfreesboro. We were able to give one to Jamie.
They were on the podcast about a year ago, I guess. So look back at that archive. That was a great one. It was very rewarding, I think. So.
And then you recognize one of our local business persons here, Landmarks, Illinois, with a restoration that he did.
Oh,
here.
Jeff Mayer, yes.
Jeff Mayer.
That was great. Well, first of all, when we did our press conference, he allowed us to use that building before it was even finished, and he's been a great partner, and we do a lot of stuff with Jeff, and just can't say enough good things about him. And actually, I renovate buildings too, and so we've been able to collaborate and those kind of things. So, but he was recognized and gave him the Richard Driehaus Award. Landmarks
and that's
chose
the
him.
1900 Goodall building here on the square.
Yeah,
and he's got a second project that's happening now too.
Oh yeah, once you get the bug, it's hard to. I'm trying to just focus on my garage personally, but it is addicting.
You've done such great work.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
So Ben, you mentioned earlier about your career at Banterra and how you started and how that career has grown. I was just at a career fair at SIU Carbondale this week, and there were several banks represented there. And one of them I was talking to, and I said, so are you able to talk to a lot of high school students? And they said, well, sort of. I'm not sure, too many are interested in banking because all they see is a teller, or that sort of position. And so talk about some of those career opportunities in banking, that whether it's a high school student or someone just getting started in their career, or maybe someone even later in life that's looking to do something, what kind of opportunities exist there?
Sure, there's a wide variety of different positions and job opportunities within the bank that you might not necessarily know about, especially if you're a high school student or a college student or anything like that. That's actually going back. I mentioned I'd been with the bank for a little over 8 years now. This is actually my second go-round with Banterra. My first job out of college was I was hired at Banterra to be a teller at the Heron branch. Did that for about a year and a half and left for about 5 years. I worked in student property management in Carbondale. But as you can imagine, got a little burned out on that and decided, well, banking's not so bad. Banking's pretty nice. Still had some connections with Banterra and was able to come back. But I think back to those early years, working on the front lines, I'll always remember those days. But that's where I really learned, there's more to it than just working in the branch on the front lines. It's not, banking isn't just depositing a check or withdrawing cash on the front lines. There's management staff, there's the marketing department, which does so much for our community, there's the back office staff, there's the loan department, there's digital banking, but really in recent years, with the way the industry has evolved was we have a really robust cybersecurity and information technology department, which I know those jobs are really important now, especially if you're in college looking for somewhere to work. But there are so many different opportunities within a bank. Not just the retail frontline staff or even the loan officers or the loan departments. There's a lot.
Yeah, and I think the neat thing about Banterra too that really surprised me is that we celebrate employee milestones that are 30, 35, 40, 45 years all the time. We have over 500 employees, and actually Luke, we just did a video on a couple, and one was retiring, and she was like, I started as a teller. I'm a regional manager. You know, most of our market executives, even our bank president, he worked at the West Frankfort branch, you know, so at one time. So I think that's really inspiring. And also, I know that from a marketing person or whatever, you don't really sort of think of a bank like that, but it really does provide multiple opportunities, like Ben said, beyond just the banking.
Great.
So does that drive some of your passion for what you do?
What's that? What part?
The not just the customers, but the employees and how they have given lifetime service.
It really, yes. It's like a family, and honestly, my team motivates me very well too. You know, I have seen how they've grown at Banterra. We also, even though sometimes you don't want to lose team members, we encourage them to grow no matter what. So, I mean, I've promoted a great team member before because it was a better area. She's over Office of Innovation now in our thing. So, all those and I love the creativity that who knew that working at a bank I could partner with coffee shops and universities and, you know, Union Street Arts and different things, you know. So it's almost like an ad agency. You're working with a lot of different brands.
Yeah, that's excellent.
You think just crunching numbers at a bank, but there's so much more to it than that. And I have a marketing background myself. That's what I majored in at SIU. Ironically, because I preferred that to accounting, but now I look at financial statements and tax returns every day. But I love that part of it too, and getting to know the customers and how they promote themselves and how we can work with them as a bank. But it's not just crunching numbers.
Well, I think, again, that goes back to what we've said several times. If it was just transactional, it could be just crunching numbers, but that's not it at all. It's all about the people and the partnerships.
It really is. It's about relationships and community and supporting that.
That's what really motivates me is the relationship building with each of our customers and getting to know them and the stories that come from that. There are so many stories, the feel-good stories, in working with our customers. I mentioned, of course, Union Street Arts, but there are other examples I can think of you know, a restaurant client in the area that was renting a space and decided they wanted to purchase a building and have their own space and then renovate that and add on to it. And then now that we've worked with them on that project and supported them, and now I can walk into that restaurant and have a meal and look around and be like, oh, you know, we were part of this. This is really cool.
You're fueling people's dreams.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I thought of when you were talking.
You know, I've often talked to the lenders before and said, because, you know, from marketing, we're just marketing. We're not part of the loan approval process, and thank goodness, because I would not be good at any of that. But I think in some ways, sometimes it might be discouraging because you get to know these customers or whatever, and then for whatever reason, you know, we can't get them the funding, and you're trying to. But there's so many opportunities that they've been able to go and say, you can start your business. Your dream can come true. I mean, it almost makes me cry. I don't even who cries about banking. But when I talk to our
sometimes I do.
Yes. When I talk to our chairman, you know, for prep for this, I said, you know, Everett, I just think it's amazing over your lifetime. Think about the businesses that you've impacted. You know, and we can't say, but he's rattled off some that have been on that Banterra started that. So
well, and what I like the way I look at it with each deal, and like you said, there are loan requests, and a lot of times we can get them to an approval for the project, and inevitably there are times where we can't. But instead of just saying, no, we can't do it, I like to say, well, no, we can't do this, but here's what we might be able to do. Here's what we can do. We can tweak some things and change some things, or here's this opportunity we know about. Or maybe there's even a grant opportunity that we can connect you with the right people on. Right. So it's not just no, it's in those situations. A lot of times it's yes, but when it is no, it's not just no, it's no, but here's what we might be able to do instead.
That's great.
That's powerful.
Super wonderful service. Is there anything we missed? Something that we can ask you and you can share?
I made note, I wanted to tell one story in particular. We were talking about different examples of working with customers.
What is an example of helping customers?
One particular example from a few years ago when the pandemic happened, and there was the PPP loan program. And that was a rapidly moving, rapidly changing thing. That we really had to work hard. We basically started working around the clock with our lenders and our credit team and our marketing department and our executive management on how can we roll this program out to businesses that really need it in a time where the country was in chaos. Businesses were shut down and couldn't operate, and they, in a lot of cases, were struggling to make payroll. So we really came together as a team and like I said, worked around the clock. We even had people setting alarms in the middle of the night to check the PPP website to see if anything had changed. So we need to move out as a team. But in that, it was such a rewarding experience because we were able to work with customers through that program, help them get our ducks in a row to be able to implement that program. And then in the end, with a lot of the customers that were able to take advantage of that program, they called me and said they were so thankful that we could do it. If we weren't able to get this loan, we wouldn't be able to make our payroll, or we wouldn't have been able to stay afloat, especially again in the time they were shut down. So those times are really challenging in a lot of ways, but also really rewarding, and something I'll always look back on and remember as one of those feel-good things that, hey, we were really able to, through our efforts, help these businesses continue through a really tough time.
Because that wasn't just about helping businesses. That filtered down to their employees, which are families in our communities, and children in our communities, and homes, and all of those things. So that's really powerful.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Do you have another question?
I do have another question. It's one of my favorites, and we'll get to end with it. But it is, what is your why? And I would love to hear just personally from both of you your why, but then also what you think Banterra's why is.
That's a great question. I think I have a couple of answers to that. I really, like I said, I enjoy working for Banterra because of our unique size. Again, large enough to offer a lot of the products and services that our businesses need and that a big bank could offer, but also small enough to have that local community bank feel and level of service. I like that. I also like our company's vision. Again, it makes me proud that we support so many good causes, whether it's a nonprofit or whether it's a university or whether it's sponsoring an event in town. I can walk into the Banterra Center and see our name on it. Makes me really proud to do that. But for me personally, just what I do every day is in my role, I get a lot of fulfillment from that because, again, each customer brings unique challenges and they have their own story. And to me, it's a puzzle. And what I like doing, I like problem solving, and I like putting puzzles together. And I get to do that with every customer that comes in. So that's what I really enjoy doing. That's why I do it, I guess.
There you go.
My why?
Jennifer?
Multiple whys, probably. I think as a marketer, just being able to build and improve that brand, over time. And I can look back of sort of when I started at Banterra and with my team, and really proud of the work that we've been able to do. But also just a little bit like Ben said, the community support. My whole reason that I came back to Southern Illinois is because I wanted to see the downtowns and the area thrive more, and Banterra puts you in the perfect position to be able to do that. So, your personal passion may not be banking or whatever, but this company has been able to put me in there because banks do exactly what I was hoping to be able to do, in that standpoint. So,
Excellent.
Yeah. This has been an amazing conversation.
Yeah.
I just know from Southern Illinois Now and on our board, of course, Banterra is a supporter, and your president and CEO is on our board, as is some other folks in banking, and we're just so fortunate in Southern Illinois to have such great banks. I could start naming them, and I would miss so many, but and I know just from working with those folks on our board, you all work really closely together and partner when you can to help advance some of those bigger projects, and I just think that's really unique and rare in this region. So thank you both so much
for
sharing about Banterra Bank and its origins and how you're just really helping our communities.
Yeah. So today's guests have been Ben Kraft and Jennifer Spence from Banterra Bank. Thank you again for joining us.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us.
Enjoyed it very much. Thank you to everyone for joining the Small Town Big Business podcast. Again, we're grateful for our sponsors for supporting us. And thank you again to Arcadia Wealth Group, Black Diamond Harley Davidson and RV, Fowler Heating and Cooling, Swinford Media Group, the Watermark Auto Group Foundation, Banterra Bank, and Southern Illinois Now, our two newest sponsors. And thanks to our producer, Luke O'Neill at Union Street Arts. I don't think we've mentioned Luke's name so many times.
I know, I'm
in
sorry.
this podcast.
We love working with Luke.
We
help
may
it.
not pay him this month just because we're, no, not at all. But we're very thankful for Luke for making this possible. We want to let you know more about EThOs. We're a small business incubator, co-working spaces, training and development, and you can reach out to us. You can go to our new website, ethosmarion.org, or you can reach me, Russell, at watermarkethos.org.
And thanks again for joining us for the podcast. As we mentioned, you can find Small Town Big Business on your favorite podcast platform. You can also find us on our YouTube channel. Again, just search Small Town Big Business. Don't forget to subscribe. We have lots of great episodes coming up, and then we have a whole archive of wonderful episodes and guests over the last, how many episodes now, Russ?
I don't know, Luke, how many episodes?
Pushing 85.
Are you kidding?
Pushing 85.
So
That's
we're going to have a
amazing.
100 episode celebration with some cake and ice cream.
Oh,
maybe?
yeah.
Coming up, coming
That'd
soon.
be excellent. Yeah.
Very good. So
exciting.
very successful. We love these stories, and thanks so much for listening. I'm Deb Barnett. I'm Executive Director with Southern Illinois Now, and thanks for joining us today.
And I'm Russ Williams. Thanks for joining us.